Hey there, in the video you're about to watch, there's the sound of what might be somebody sawing logs. That is my very large Maine Coon cat snoring behind me as I record this video. So I did not realize that it would be caught by the microphone, but it was. So please enjoy the sound of a very large cat snoring while I explain the markets and my take on them. Hello and welcome to the week ahead. What the hell's going on in the markets? Let's take a look. I look at this chart of ES and it just looks like steady as she goes to me. Like, you can clearly see that there's a bit of a rounding top here, but who cares? Like, does that mean it's going to roll over? No, it doesn't. We already had a rollover like not that long ago, and so don't care too much about that look. I think what typically happens, and you can see it here on the way up and you can see it here in the past, is like it starts to get that curvy look on the top, and then it has a decent pull in this case. It pulled to this weekly. I'm looking at the weekly chart here, so this is like the weekly EMA 26, and then it does a nice rally out of that, starts to curve a bit, and then boom, comes back down in here to the monthly EMA 12. And then does it again, sort of starts to curve around the top, and then we did have a significant pull in over there. But again, how often does that happen? Like, it just happened. We're still recovering from it. The last time we had a big drop like that was probably this one. This move down here, that, the 2022 to 2023 doldrums of the market, that was more like a steady move down, sideways balance, and then return, right? So a big flush, I don't see it happening, but anything can happen in the market. But to me, this chart looks super healthy. I would not be surprised if at some point we get, because anytime you get a space between the moving average that you're tracking and price, it tends to want to come back in. Right now, we're actually not that extended from it at all, and we do have this resistance from over here that we're looking at here on ES, and we just sort of pierced it and we're unable to push through. Is it toppy? I don't know. Who cares? I look at this and I'm like, I just don't want to trade this chart right now. That's all I really think. Like, it's just not what I'm interested in. And I've heard people talk about, other traders, I've heard them say that the days aren't that great for trading lately. And I actually disagree. I think that I've had some of the best trading days I've ever had in the month of January. January has been an incredible month for me. Starting on my first day trading on January 2nd, I got into one of the best trades I've ever done. And so I think it's all about what are you trading, and like, for example, let's take a look at NQ. Obviously NQ is tightening up here, and I see this as like we're contracting, so volatility is incoming. It's worth noting that on the daily time frame, we do have this trench here that's been built, this high between 26 121 and basically high 25s. So there's this range that price has been unable to get through. So it's not exactly a tightening range, but it kind of is, And so to me, whenever I see it like a tightening range, I just think like volatility is incoming. Price is getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. Whether it is a perfect high or low, lower high, higher low, lower high, higher low, lower high, it doesn't really matter. Technically, this one got slightly higher than that one. Does that mean it's not a broadening or tightening pattern? No, it is a tightening pattern. What do I think is going to happen? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think is going to happen. All I know is when I see this, I think to myself, well, volatility is incoming. I don't know which direction it's going to go. But while we're trading in here, I'm not that interested in trading it. Like, maybe if I'm nervous that there's going to be a breakdown, then I might try to put a hedge on. That's, for my long-term portfolio, maybe I think about putting a hedge on if I think there's going to be a significant rollover. But honestly, I look at this and I'm like, because there's this resistance area up here, I find that rejections, maybe I'm wrong, but the rejections, and especially the best rejections, happen when you actually break through that level and then you're unable to hold it and even close above it and you push back down. That's when you get a serious flush. And I just drew a really hard line. I don't believe that's going to happen. But like, that's when you start to get a more significant drop like that. To me, it's less likely that we just like weekly just kind of begin to roll over. That's not how markets work, but they tend to react to emotion. So, and also, like, I find that if there's going to be a significant move, the most significant moves happen when people are positioned in the other direction. So that's why like a sharp move up gets everybody long. They're like, oh my God, we broke the level, let's get long. And then a rejection from that long, that's where like the most people possible are on the wrong side of that trade, and therefore it forces it down even harder. And vice versa, right? Like we could get a breakdown. The key levels for me are obviously this one, and this one. So break one, break two of those, and then rally out of that, you're going to catch so many people on the wrong side, and it'll just be back to all-time highs. So like, it could go either way, and I just don't really care. I just look at this and I think, this isn't my time to trade. Like, I want to find opportunities where price is going to move. I don't want to be stuck in things that are not moving. And so my personal opinion when I look at this and I think about how do I want to be involved is I want it to break one way or the other, and then I want to try to get involved. And I'm happy to get involved short. I'm happy to get involved long. Let it break, and then I'll decide what I want to do. So that's that. I think it's worth talking about some of the things that I've been doing, but I'll come around to that. It's also worth talking about silver. This is insane, this chart. A lot of people have been talking about this, saying it's too far extended. It's going to reverse it. How could it possibly keep going? And yet it just keeps holding. But look at this blue line here, the daily EMA 12. It's like, it's accelerating. It's definitely looking like it's very climaxy. And I even saw Lance Breitstein post that, wow, he couldn't believe the silver bulls. And he was talking specifically about SLV and how this thing is really hard to trade with all the gaps and like, sort of, it's like gapping down, gapping up, cutting people on both sides, and yet running and continuing to rally and surprising people by continuing to show strength. Like, even just look at the increasing volume, it just goes up and up and up and up here. So this is a crazy chart, no question. I think everybody's trying to think about where's the top going to be. But a member of the Chart Guys community, not a member, main contributor at the Chart Guys community, Jungle Funk, posted this. So he quoted Lance Breitstein going, "This SLV reclaim is crazy. IMO silver and the metals have been one of the toughest trades in years, given overnight cracks lower than reclaims." And Jungle Funk said this, and he's 110% right, which is the key characteristics of commodities is that they trend further and balance longer than folks anticipate. I've heard him talk about this repeatedly, that it's part of the reason that he started to focus on commodities, because the trends are more consistent, they last longer, and when you're trading equities, you're not used to that happening. He says it here, when people who don't often trade commodities trade them, they tend to struggle because they try to treat them like other assets, but they don't behave like other assets. For me, this means no counter trend trading unless at historical RSI levels. That's a simple rule that keeps them out of trouble. Took some trials and tribulations to respect this reality, but once I did, it was a game changer. The other thing, and this is so key, trading the ETFs as opposed to futures is like running a marathon with ankle weights on. These are internationally traded instruments, so overnight action is part of the gig. And he's right, and it's part of the reason that I've laid off in trading silver. I did trade silver, and I've also traded gold miners on this silver and gold rally, and that's been good for me. But yeah, I think part of me thinks like maybe sometime in the future I'm going to have to look more closely at trading futures, but I'm just not quite there yet, and I just love equities too much. But anyway, it's worth talking about because this looks so insane, this chart. It's just bonkers, bonkers, bonkers. Look at that weekly candle. And you look at this and think, is that like a sort of a shooting star look to it? Are we going to get the reversal? Is it finally here? But I mean, there's wicks on the top of lots of these. So look at these ones down here. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know how far this thing can go, but that's definitely one part of the market where you're not looking like this. And so those parts of the market exist. And for me, when I'm thinking about my trades, I'm just not looking at these super tight trading things. So where did the strength go? SPY is looking healthy. NQ is looking like a tightening range. Metals are going nuts. Check out this XLP chart. So this is at all-time highs here. And it's been in this tight range for a while. But over the last 2 weeks, look at this daily chart. Look at this daily chart. Look at this move out of nowhere. And look at the volume. This is crazy. And today we broke this, on Friday we broke the stair step, and look what happened. It's like, it broke, and you'd think, oh my God, finally some not even like a win for the bears, but just a little bit of rest for the bulls. And no, they don't get it. It just pushes up, continues to push up. It's crazy. So that's XLP. And then jumping back to the weekly, let's look at XLB. So again, another one, this is in all-time high territory. It had a tight week compared to the expanded week last week, of the week before. And so I've got this little trigger here that I'm going to be watching. Do we break this weekly trend? But we are at all-time highs. So like, I don't know what to think about this, but check out the daily chart. Another one of those riding the daily EMA 12. Finally, a bit of a topping pattern here, but what's going to happen? Is it going to come back in, hold the daily EMA 12 and keep going? I don't know, but I do have that weekly level where if we break that level and then possibly set a daily lower high, that could be a nice short trade for just nothing else, but even just coming back and maybe testing some of these supports from below before trying to continue to the upside. So something I'm thinking about. Apple's worth talking about because we got daily oversold back over here, and now we made a bear flag and we're continuing down, which is kind of nuts. Like, this is straight off all-time highs to daily oversold. And I'm reminded of when this has happened before, back over here. So we had this dip down here, and right on these daily oversolds, I bought some Apple down here because it was monthly EMA 12 and daily oversold. And then I had a wonderful week the next week, and I sold up here for a huge win. And now that's not what's happening this time. This time we come down and we're rolling over. And actually, if you look at NQ and then obviously your mind goes, well, what are the Mag 7 doing? If you go look at the Mag 7, it's a dog's breakfast. It's just a complete mess in the Mag 7 on the daily and weekly charts. It's like Meta's tanking. Amazon looks actually kind of strong. Google's strong, continuing to sort of push to all-time highs. Microsoft is a disaster. Nvidia's chopping sideways. Tesla's coming down off all-time highs, but too deep. And it's like a mess to trade that chart right now. It's just a mess. The whole thing is just kind of a mess. And so Apple is not helping here. Apple bear flagging and continuing lower. And obviously your mind goes, well, wait, we just hit daily oversold. How much further can this thing go? And so you go back and look at what happened before. And it can go lower. It can go significantly lower. So here we got daily oversold, had a bit of a bounce, which we didn't get that this time. We're just heading lower right away. This got a bit of a bounce. And from that bounce, it went down 20% more. And this obviously was the tariff dump. So, it's a very different situation because you're talking about the market pushing every stock in the market down. But I'd be really curious to see right now, if the Qs come out of that tightening range and they break to the downside, is Apple going to follow through and be a huge part of that? Or is Apple going to actually show relative strength because it's already pulled down so much? The rubber band is stretched in this direction already. So like how much further can you stretch it without it just rebounding? And so I'm curious. I'm really curious. I think this is a top watch for me. I want to see what happens to Apple. Is it able on market weakness to continue to show weakness? Is it like the leader of the weakness, or is it showing relative strength in that weakness? And then, is it going to start to show me some daily higher lows that maybe I want to get involved again, even if it's just for like a monthly lower high? But here on the weekly chart, not a good look for Apple. You can sort of see, even like just by looking at this chart, you can kind of see there was a bit of a daily head and shoulders pattern. But we're fresh off all-time highs. How bearish can you be just coming off all-time highs? To me, it seems kind of crazy to be that bearish. But let's see. I think at some point we'll probably get a weekly bounce here. Well, obviously we'll get a weekly bounce at some point, but who knows how soon that's going to happen. Okay, so back to what I've been trading. I'll talk really quickly about that trade I took, which I started on January 2nd, and that is in IREN. And the idea here is that I'm looking at the monthly time frame, and I'm thinking to myself, this is a huge, this was a massive rally up to the highs. This is a huge pull in. I actually fundamentally think this company is pretty cool, where they started out as a Bitcoin miner company, and now they're transitioning to providing, I think, AI machine warehousing. And so this is pretty cool, where they're kind of fulfilling both purposes right now. And so this company, I think it's a cool company and does some neat stuff. And I can see why people get excited about it. So when it moved, had this huge rally and then retraced 50% from that move here at the top down to here, we're at like 56% on that drop. And we're coming into monthly EMA 12. That had me interested. So I'm looking at this chart on the weekly, looking for a place for it to bottom. It did bottom here, and then it rallied. And that gave it enough room on the daily time frame off that rally to then set a daily higher low. So I see this as an inverse head and shoulders. I'm looking for this bottom to be the monthly higher low, and I'm looking for it to rally back up. Now, because it was a 50% retrace of that huge move, I'm expecting a monthly lower high. I don't think it's going back to highs. I could be wrong, but most likely scenario is a monthly lower high. And so I drew this retracement fib, and I'm looking for it to get somewhere into this golden pocket, which it did. I took this trade here. I got in, I will show you on this day right here. So I'm going to zoom in. And it was just to really show you. So this day right here on that morning is when I got in. So what I'd been watching was, let's get down to the 30. I'll zoom right in. Here is where I ended up getting in right there. I'm going to zoom in even more. We'll go down to the 5. So on this day, here was the high of prior day. Right off the open, we break that high. We come in a little bit deeper. I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's probably the daily higher low that I'd been pointing out on the larger time frame. And now I know, as long as it holds that low, I want to be in this trade. So it burst through the yet prior day high, and a lot of people might buy right there, but I like to wait to see what's going to happen. And in this case, it pulled in, and I drew my line almost in the right spot. What I ended up doing was this. I took a long off the high of that 5-minute bar with my stop below low of prior day, because that's my invalidation point for where I think, it could go set a lower high here and still come lower on the 5-minute time frame and still not break the low of prior day, and that could be the daily higher low. So I did not want to stop out anywhere in here. I just took a position there, and away we go. And the rally out of there was incredible. I took a portion off to cover my risk somewhere up here, which at that time, what was my risk to reward? It was like 2.5 R. And so, but I knew I'm holding this for a long time. So I did go back to the 30-minute, held through all of that stuff. And let's actually go to 4-hour. And I knew that up here around 55.60 was where we were in the golden pocket. And so I held through all this loveliness here and then sold the majority of my position right up here in the golden pocket. And now I'm down to a runner after the move on Friday. This was probably the best trade I think I've ever done in terms of just nailing the location on the bottom. And it might go further. I probably sold too soon. It could just keep going up from here. And who knows, just because it's in the golden pocket doesn't mean it needs to stop there. But I'd held this thing so long, and the amount of money was getting so big that I was feeling like real fear, which is stupid. I have this thing about I shouldn't be feeling fear when things are green, but you see the paper profits, and you kind of want to make a living doing this. So I took some profit. Okay, and that's that. I think the only other thing I wanted to talk about was I wanted to talk about weekly charts, because I spend a lot of time recently looking at weekly charts and thinking about them. And I've got a bunch here that I think are awesome, but I've already made this video too long, so I think I'm going to stop there. And just let you know that something I've been thinking about doing is I typically trade in this community called the Chart Guys, and I post trade reviews in there. I post a lot of content in there, all video content. And I thought, why am I just putting it there? Why not just put it on YouTube and then share the YouTube links in there? So I think probably starting this week, I'm going to start recording my videos and posting them on YouTube. So there should start to be a lot more content showing up on this channel if you're interested in it. So please remember to like and subscribe and click that bell icon so you can see when I'm posting new content, because I'm going to be posting a lot more stuff that gives you a lot more insight into how I trade, what I'm trading, and how I think about the positions I'm getting into. And that's it. I think we're so tight on the cues that this week is going to be pretty interesting to see if and how that breaks. And in the meantime, focus on where the strength is. Focus on setups that are working for you. Don't get stuck in trading these tightening ranges. And don't get stuck in trading names that you've been trading for a while just because you've been trading them and they were working. If you're finding that things aren't going well for you and you're not able to get the moves you want, start trading something else. There's plenty of moves in the market all the time. Just find the setups that work for you and get after it. All right, have a great week. Hey, if you like my indicators on TradingView and you like the content I'm producing here on this channel, please remember to like and subscribe.